Evening. The first order of business is to let you know that nothing happened in closed session tonight that needs to be reported out. So I will at this time adjourn the closed session, the City Council closed session meeting, and I will open the City Council meeting of February the 6th at 5 p.m. The first order of business is the pledge. If you'll all stand and join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, City Clerk, roll call, please.
Council members: Connie Williams.
Here.
Jim Gurenda.
Here.
Matt Hopkins.
Here.
Mark Plummer. Here. George Segarini.
Here.
City Clerk is here. Administrator Tim Miller. Here. Our interim engineer is absent. Administrative Services Director Jennifer Callaway. Here. Attorney Nubia Goldstein. Here. Fire Chief Amy New. Here. Interim Police Chief Michael Harden. Here. Community Development Director Rochelle Kellogg. Here.
And the City Clerk's report on agenda posting.
At 12 p.m. on the third day of February 2017, the agenda for this meeting was posted outside City Hall for public view.
Okay. Item C is the approval of the agenda. Any council members need to make any changes or additions? Seeing none, we'll move on to presentations for this evening. Item number D1 is the introduction of firefighter interns Hernandez and Figley. So we will have our Chief New come up to the podium.
Is it turned on? Yes, okay, good. Don't have to push any buttons.
You might want to pull it down just a little bit, Amy.
Better? Okay. Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, members of the public. Tonight, there is no action needed from the council. I'll be introducing two of our newest intern firefighters, Josiah Hernandez and Kelly Figley. The background of this is the internship program was started in the 1990s, and around October 2nd of 2000, the council approved funding for 3 additional firefighter intern scholarships, totaling 6 positions. It's been extremely successful for both the city and the students participating in the program. We have an extremely high rate of success of members of this program going on to find permanent positions in municipalities, Forest Service, CAL FIRE, and other agencies in the fire service. So the following firefighter interns passed all the entry testing requirements, subsequent background and pre-participation in a physical testing as required as part of the application process. And as fire chief, it does give me a great deal of pride and pleasure to introduce to you our 2 new firefighters. As most people know, going through an application process for most jobs, it doesn't seem that long or difficult, but the fire department, police department, for public service, seems like it takes an eternity. So I appreciate these guys' patience to go through the process and complete everything. Just a little bit of background. Josiah Hernandez was born at Garfield Medical Center in Monterey Park, California. He grew up in Sunland, California with his older sister Leandro and parents Joe and Lisa. He graduated high school from Village Christian School. He's held previous employment at Oakmont Country Club as a server, Leaper Brothers Medical and Industrial Gases as a dock worker, Sears in the shipping and receiving department, and Quality Concrete Construction as a construction assistant. He also worked at Fresh Air as an air duct cleaning technician and Advanced Fire and Rescue as a firefighter and EMT. He attended Verduga Hills Fire Academy in Glendale, California, completing his EMT training at CIEMT in Hawthorne, and is continuing his education right here in Columbia now for his associate's degree in fire science. Josiah has always wanted to become a firefighter since he was a little boy, and he could not imagine doing anything else. His father, Joe Hernandez, will be pinning his badge as soon as we swear him in tonight. Kelly Figley was born right here in Sonora, California. He graduated from Somerville High School in 2015. He's worked around the county with his first job as a shop hand at Vans Cabinet and Doors, and he recently completed a year working for Save Mart. Unlike many people, Kelly said he did not always decide that and know that he wanted to become a firefighter. In fact, he actually was finishing his first semester of studies in business at CSU Stanislaus and realized, I think I'm going down the wrong path. He found his studies of business to be a little dry, and he decided he would pursue a career in the fire service. He said he was attracted to the unselfish and willingness to give yourself for the betterment of those around you and having a bond between your brothers and sisters in the fire department. He immediately felt that this was the right path for him and that the idea continued to solidify the more he pursued his career. Kelly transferred to Columbia College and is attending the fire academy and attended the fire academy in the fall of 2016 and graduated. Upon completion, he knew without a doubt then that this was the career he was born to do. He was hooked. He's continuing his education at Columbia to obtain his fire associate's degree as well, and is enrolled as an EMT and Fire Protection 1 class this semester. He hopes to have all of his general ed studies completed by the fall semester of 2017. He states that he could not be more honored to have the opportunity to work for the Sonora Fire Department and to serve and give back to the community that has made him the man he is today. And Kelly's father, Ron Figley, will be pinning his badge. So if I could have Josiah and Kelly come up to the podium. And I'm going to have you guys turn and face. Have you raised your right hands? I, repeat your name.
I, Kelly Figley, Josiah Hernandez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
and I will faithfully discharge the duties
as a firefighter with the City of Sonora,
as a firefighter with the City of Sonora,
of which I'm about to enter.
of which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Sorry about that, guys. I'm excited and nervous. Not yet.
Blood. We want to see blood.
He's a good young man. Congratulations, son.
Get Velcro.
I think we're about even.
So I'll introduce Josiah and Kelly as our new firefighters for Sonora. So please go ahead and say thank you to the council.
Thank you very much.
You guys can shake their hands if you'd like.
What I want to say to the general public is that our small city is very fortunate to have this Columbia College Fire Program. Wouldn't it be great if we could have a police program as well out at Columbia College? But we're very fortunate to have what we have here in this community, and congratulations to both of you. Item E on our agenda is public comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
please.
The mayor got a little ahead of herself. Okay, introduction of an administration of oath to the interim police chief Hardin. That, I hope that faux pas doesn't hurt me when I'm out driving my car.
It wouldn't have bothered me a bit to just skip over.
As the council's aware, we considered an annuitant agreement back in December to bring Chief Hardin on when he completed all of the requisite requirements for the post-background medical and other evaluations. That is now complete. And we are ready to have the clerk administer the oath to him. Chief Hardin arrived today for his first day on the job, and by way of 28 years in the city of Modesto, as most recently as their police chief, and indirectly through the cities of Escalon, Houston, and Riverbank. So both serving in interim capacities as either police chief or city administrator. So we're certainly pleased to have him on board, and this will formally complete his indoctrination or induction or hiring, however you want to characterize that. So thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. Why don't you stand out here and face as the others did? That would be good. Raise your right hand and repeat after me, and you'll say your name, obviously. I
I, Michael Hardin,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully
and that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Thank you. Thank you.
Gets everyone to state the job.
That's why I was holding on his hand. I didn't want him to
And I'll
fall.
give you a copy, and then we'll have one for our records here.
Okay.
Okay, one more. And you can take this one, so I sign this one.
Keep that one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd just like to say, if I may, it's an honor to have the opportunity to serve both the council, Mr. Miller, and the residents of Sonora. I think I have a lot to offer to the city, but at the same time, I think the city has a lot to offer me. I'm on a journey to be a lifelong learner, and I know that Sonora is going to teach me a few things, because if you think you've arrived, especially in law enforcement, I have found that time and time again that's nothing can be further from the truth. So I'll just share one last comment. I've had the brief opportunity to meet a number of the officers at the police department today, and if they are representative of the entire staff of the police department, both sworn and non-sworn staff, your city's in good hands. They are very capable, they're very dedicated, and I'm excited with this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And we welcome you. Okay, now I can move on to public comment. The public may address the council on any item of public interest not otherwise on the agenda that is within the jurisdiction of the city. No action may be taken. Matters to be addressed may be referred to city staff or placed on a subsequent meeting agenda. Speakers are limited to a 5-minute presentation.
Hello, my name is Elaine Linehan, and I want to discuss the meeting time for the Sonora City Council. When I first came to work for the city council met at 7 p.m., City staff attempted to move the meeting to an earlier start of time, for most of them lived outside of the city limits and up the hill. Most retail businesses are open until 5:30, and business owners need to close their shops, deposit their day's receipts. An earlier start time prevents their participation. For this reason, the early start time was rejected by the City Council. Now you begin your meetings at 5 p.m. This discourages participation of anyone who has a traditional work schedule with a 5 p.m. quitting time, and hampers business owners from participating in City Council meetings. This discourages participation. I urge you to re-examine the schedule of City Council meeting times at your upcoming board retreat. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Lehman, and I just wanted to come and tell you about a couple of events that are happening downtown this week. I thought it'd be fun to share with you. The first one is our first ever Second Thursday, which goes along with Second Saturday, and it's an indie movie night series that we're having at the Opera Hall. And the first movie that we're having is called Beyond the Rocks, and it's a romantic melodrama. It kind of goes along with the Valentine's Day holiday that's coming up. And it's going to be actually a silent movie meets a live radio show. We're going to have 4 actors from Stage 3 actually reading the cards that go along with the silent movie. I think there are about 10 characters altogether that the 4 kids are going to do. So it should be a lot of fun, and I hope you can come out. We've gotten a lot of support from the city on this, so I really want to thank you.
And
It starts at 7 o'clock. The doors open at 6, and the movie starts at 7. And we are going to have beer and wine and champagne that goes along with that kind of style of movie.
And how much?
At the Sonora Opera Hall. Yes.
How much?
It's $10. Yeah. And that goes towards the events for Second Saturday, and our Mountain Performers Fund is what the money goes towards. And then the second event is put on through the Arts Alliance, and it's the Richard Burleigh Scholarship Memorial Fund. And it's going to be having Joe Craven, doing his band, The Painted Mandolin, and this money is going to be going towards a scholarship for students for music lessons, or we're not exactly sure how we're going to distribute the scholarship money, but it is for the children of our community, and music is going to be the focus for that. So, and that is on Saturday night, and we're going to have pizza out in front. It'll be just a little bit before Second Saturday ends. It starts at 7 o'clock, and it's $30 if you buy tickets in advance, and $35 if you buy them at the door, because it is a scholarship dance. And Risky Biscuits is going to be playing also, which is a local band.
And this is at the Sonora Opera Hall?
At the Sonora Opera Hall as well.
Okay.
Look for the posters. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Don. I didn't see
Sure.
Don.
My name is Don Nessel. I'm a resident of the county, not of the city of Sonora. And I wanted to address the board an idea that is kind of being thrown around and hopefully entertained for something for the future, and that is that I was particularly concerned that the county would have invested so much money in this juvenile detention facility without having any kind of matching funds for how to keep them out, kind of thing. So, and I don't know where the city of Sonora could be in the area of somehow being involved in or funding things that would, this was awesome what she talked about, the dance and the money for music and so forth. So my idea is that with many partners, hopefully, that we would sponsor something called the Teen Fair. And the Teen Fair would be held at the fairgrounds. It would have amazing stuff to do. Who knows what that is, but I have a few ideas on that. But we'd start with the basics, the carnival and the music venues, and the Manzanita building filled with all the kinds of outreaches to teens, clubs, activities, things associated with the backcountry in the woods and everything that we could do to get them out there. but then also that there would be some sort of a possible big name entertainer that would come into the stadium and wouldn't have any kind of issues like if you had Beyonce entertain and you got to deal with that kind of stuff, but good wholesome entertainment. So anyway, it's something that is an idea. It's not only my idea, but was born here, and we're trying to muster right now civic groups or church groups or anybody and everybody and anybody who would participate in this teen fair. It's a great teen fair. The first annual would be, say, 2018, because obviously we're too short for the spring and summer of this year, but so thank you very much.
So Don, who would people want to get in touch with? Are you kind of leading this, or?
Yes. Jim, I could be your initial contact, and then maybe the two of us could branch out and begin to
Thanks, Don.
spread the word. So, yeah. But
okay.
me.
Okay.
All right.
So Don, would you leave your contact information?
Yes, I'll give it to
If
Mary.
you'll give it to Mary Jane, that would be great, because
Okay.
you never know who we know that might be interested
That's
in
what
helping
I'm
you out.
interested in. Who I don't know, who you know.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. Okay, the consent calendar. These are items on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be voted on in one motion unless a council member or a member of the public has a question or wishes to discuss an item. In that case, the item will be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately. The items tonight are 1A, the City Council special meeting of January the 17th, 2017. B, the City Council closed session meeting of January the 17th, 2017. C is the City Council open session meeting of January the 17th, 2017. And D, the City Council special meeting of January the 23rd, 2017. Additionally, item number 2 is approval to pay invoices of previously budgeted expenses on February the 7th, 2017. And item number 3 is approval of disbursements in the amount of $129,270.77 on January the 20th, 2017, and of $127,027.93 on February the 3rd, 2017, for payroll inclusive of employee salaries, employer and employee taxes, and retirement contributions, and miscellaneous voluntary employee deductions.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to go ahead and move on this consent calendar.
I'll second it.
Any public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Item G is public hearings, which tonight we have none. Is there any public comment? Item H is unfinished business, which tonight we have none. Is there any public comment? Item I is new business. Item number 1 under new business is consideration to approve an agreement with Katie Anderson to conduct a study of the impacts associated with the closure of Lineberg Street between Washington and Stewart Streets, and authorizing the city administrator to execute the necessary documents on behalf of the city. And Rochelle Kellogg, our Community Development Director, will give us a staff report.
Thank you. This item was asked to be brought back by the council. We originally brought this to you in on November 1st. The agreement or the proposal has not changed. It's the same proposal that was brought forth back then. You asked us to take another look at, bring this back after the holidays were over, related to Santa being located on Lineberg Street, and also to discuss with the consultant the appropriate time of day to conduct the studies as far as looking at peak hour periods. So we are bringing it back for you tonight. As you know, the conversion of Lineberg Street into a pedestrian paseo was identified within the Vision Sonora plan. And then in October, the Vision Sonora Committee recommended to the council that that only the road segment between Leinenberg Street, on Leinenberg Street between Stewart and Washington be considered at this time for permanent closure, and that should be the one that should be looked at under this study. Again, this is not an approval to approve the closure of the street. This is to do the traffic study to evaluate the use of that street. As I said, we brought this back, we're bringing this back. We have talked to the consultant. He recommends that the city conduct a 3-day, 24-hour count prior to the traffic study to identify a peak hour period. So this would be part of what we would be doing. Also, due to the season variations, we'd be looking at doing this in the spring. The cost for the assessment is $4,800 plus $600 for a quantitative cumulative evaluation, and that cumulative study evaluates the long-term impact that would result from a permanent street closure of that segment. Again, it's Leinenberg only between Stewart and Washington Street. So staff and the Vision Sonora Committee are recommending that you approve traffic engineering, the hiring of a traffic engineering consultant services as provided by K.D. Anderson and Associates to assess the possible closure of Leinenberg Street between Washington and Stewart Street, and then authorize the city administrator to finalize and execute the agreement. And that's what we have for you tonight.
Okay. In our notes, it says the attached proposal, but
I know, and I think, yeah, and it was the one that was received before, but you have a copy in front of you. I put one here for you. It's the same one that came forward. There's been no changes. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Mary Jane put them at your, yeah, it's the same proposal. It's hard for me to scoot around, so I asked her to give you guys each one. But it is the same proposal that you guys have. It's exactly the same. There's been no changes.
okay. Any questions by the council to Ms. Kellogg?
Yeah, I have a logistical one. How would the city conduct this 3-day, 24-hour count? I can't imagine you'd have somebody out there all that time.
We'll likely do it the old-fashioned way, is a counter and a hose across the street.
Oh, okay.
Or we could do it the more sophisticated way, and that is with a camera, but that requires a viewing after the, and it's much more expensive, so we'll do it the traditional way.
Okay.
Which is what I started doing when I started my mining career.
I assume we have one of those.
No, we'll rent it.
Oh, okay.
Rochelle, I was in favor of postponing this originally because of Santa's house being located there and the fact that that street would be closed, and just kind of seeing what it might affect it would have on traffic downtown. And that was during the Christmas season, which is normally a little heavier traffic than normal. We had a merchants City of Sonora forum meeting. I asked the merchants that were there if they had any reports of inconvenience to their customers with that street being closed. Nobody had any complaints. So it seems like at this point that as far as the merchants are concerned, or at least those that were at the meeting, they didn't find any problem with that street being closed. What exactly are we looking for in the report that they're going to give us?
They'll do, I'm going to let, Tim is the traffic guru much more than I am.
They're going to look at the traffic that no longer uses Leinenberg has to go somewhere.
You'd be close.
And the report will evaluate any impacts associated with the redistribution of that traffic. So, and in order to ultimately close that street, you'll need to make some type of environmental finding. And this will serve as a basis for that assessment. So we need to conduct the study to provide the impact information or the lack thereof as a part of our environmental clearance for the actual project.
If it was on a periodic or temporary basis, do you need the same findings?
No, I mean we're already authorized to close on a temporary basis.
So this is for permanent?
This is for permanent closure.
I will let you know that we didn't receive any complaints either while Santa's house was there, and this time we didn't have any problems with Santa's house. There was no issues having it there. It was a last-minute decision, as you know, so we originally had planned on putting it in the park. So,
Other questions by the council?
I think Tim answered mine, but to go forward, if we are going to go forward, we need to do this. It's not a political decision. I mean, we need more information if we are in fact going to do this. Is that correct?
Yes. If you want to have a basis, a technical basis, which you should have, on which to base your decision, then we need to do the traffic study.
Thank you.
I'm going to scoot out of the way here.
So one thing that I want to, that I'd like to, at least the general public know, because not everybody has a copy of the proposal in front of you, there were two options. One was to look at 3 streets, and the total cost to do that was $10,150. Looking at just the one street is a total of $5,400. Based on what we've heard so far, the one street was the conclusion that was needed based on the community wanting to have a pedestrian paseo. So I just wanted to make that clear. If there's no other questions by the council.
I have one more. Rochelle, you can just nod your head. Where's she go? Well, there she is.
She's sitting in the front.
That's
why I can't see it.
I asked this before. There's a new business opening on Lanenberg.
yes.
And those folks are aware of the fact that we're looking at perhaps closing that street, and they don't have any problem with that going forward.
No, actually, they selected that location because they like the idea of it possibly becoming a paseo. They told me that directly at the county.
So they would be in favor of
Yes,
that. Thank you.
that particular business.
Anything else from the council? Then I'll ask for public comment.
Hello, my name's Elena Linehan. I own the historic Burnham home on Lionelberg Street. Came to town originally to run your Main Street program to help you do your revitalization. We started out with 27 vacancies, ended up with 2 vacancies. You like the Christmas decorations that were hanging downtown this last Christmas? You're welcome. That's what we brought to town. Many of you enjoy the farmers market. You're welcome there as well, because a dedicated committee came together and made sure that was there and available for the rest of our days. I knew that that was the one thing that would live beyond me and our programs to become part of Sonora's legacy. After 2 years of being ignored by City Council, I have to thank you for having heard me. The original proposal from Vision Sonora was based on traffic counts on Washington Street taken on a Friday and Saturday, the first week in November 2012. Hardly an adequate sample or example of our traffic patterns. This new proposal at least plans for a spring traffic count, which is more indicative of what we're going to face. And the proposal submitted by you last fall, or submitted to you last fall, called for a traffic study for only 2 hours in the afternoon. As I have said, anyone who knows Sonora knows that commuter traffic runs east to west in the morning and west to east in the afternoon. That afternoon count would miss the morning commuter traffic. The afternoon commute traffic is on Thiel. This new proposal calls for 3 days of a traffic count for a 24-hour period. Thank God for that. But why are we spending this money at all? You refer to public input from 200 or so community members during the Vision Sonora workshop that wanted the closure of Lionelburg Street, and yet you received a petition from 400 community members opposing it. Every 7 years, the closure of Lionelburg Street comes before the City Council, and every 7 years it's been rejected. In the past, we performed traffic counts without the cost of thousands of dollars. And those traffic counts included Lionelburg, Bradford, Thiel, and Dodge Streets in their count. 14 years ago, an art gallery opened its doors on Lionelburg Street, and they asked for Lionelburg to be closed so they could have additional seating and display room for their business. I said to you then, the city has no business taking a public street and giving it to a private business. And if that's the case, the business owner should incur the cost, not the public. Today we hear of a new business that will open up and desires Lionelburg Street for their business as well. I read of Lori Lehman's talking of having a wine bar on Lionelburg for Second Saturdays, and I said that's inappropriate. The visitors on Second Saturdays should be in the restaurants supporting those businesses. And I was reminded that there's a wine bar right next to Lionelburg, and I realized here we are again, 14 years later, talking about giving public property, a road that we are using every day, being given away by the city to the benefit of individual businesses. If that is the case, then let them pay for this study. Those funds could be much better spent. If you have $5,000 available to spend on Lionelburg Street, you should use it for the road repairs needed on Lionelburg Street due to recent rains. There is nothing proposed for Lionelburg Street that could not take place in Coffell Park. I lived on Lionelburg for 18 years in the historic Burnham home. My view from the kitchen window clearly shows the block of Lionelburg you are proposing to close. I can tell you that this block is used every hour of the day. At 6 a.m. it is heavily used. Throughout the workday it's used. At 3 a.m. in the morning it's used. And unless you're talking about having a Mardi Gras party held 24/7, I can tell you that a permanent closure of Lionelburg is not the best use for that street. Cities who have taken this misguided path have then had to spend taxpayers' dollars to reverse their actions and reopen the street. If you are heart set on closing a street in downtown, please consider the closure of Dodge. In past discussions, you've examined that street right along with Lionelburg. The fact that Dodge Street is still open will tell you how that conversation went. But my guess is that Dodge Street is driven far less than Lionelburg, and Dodge is more conducive to landscaping. By the way, my count showed that Lionelburg Street was used more than Thiel Street and more than Green, hardly scientific, but those numbers surprised me nonetheless. Bob Holton called me. He writes the Good Old Day column for the Union Democrat. He's adamantly opposed to the closure of Lionelburg and had several things to say about this proposal. He couldn't be here tonight. But he asked me to say to you that the reason Lionelburg and the other cross streets were originally put in was because of public safety. I need to remind you that the closing of Lionelburg Street will create a stretch of over 1,000 feet between Church and Bradford Street without an opportunity for traffic to move east and west. You're not ready to make this decision. I have said without flagging for 2 years that you should not take any action without getting input from your fire, police, public works, and engineering departments. Please put common sense and business sense ahead of your desires to landscape downtown. The business of downtown is business. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, if I might just clarify a couple things. The council is considering authorizing a study. The council has not indicated that they're going to give any part of that street away. That's another whole process to abandon a street and make it available for private, dedicated private use. And there has not been an approval of a wine bar to be set up on Lionelburg, either on a temporary basis or a permanent basis. So, and as far as input, once we complete the study, we'll be bringing back to you, along with the study, recommendations from your city departments with respect to public safety and operational characteristics. So This is just the first step in what will be a long, I'll say a somewhat long process for you to make that decision, so.
With public comment.
With public comment, plenty of opportunity for public input, certainly.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to make clear my question about the business being located there. It had nothing to do with them wanting to operate within the city street at that point in time. I just wanted to make sure that they were aware of the study that we're going to be doing and carrying on from there.
Okay. All right. Any other public comment?
Well, I didn't prepare anything, but just being really involved with Vision Sonora and the process that it's been, it takes a long time to get anything done. You know, maybe we will close the street, maybe we won't, but this is something that we have to do to make that decision. And if we don't have this information, then no decision could be made. So one of the things that people asked for was a more walkable town. All the parking is on that side of the street, so yeah, there's a lot that can be done in Coffell Park, and we look forward to doing lots of things in Coffell Park, but also this is a way to get from the parking safely to the downtown in a better way. So it could be safer than some of our other choices. So I encourage you to vote yes today. Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot to mention that I brought a written copy of my comments to be included in the minutes.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, then I will bring it back to the council for a motion.
Well, comments first, right? Or do you want a motion first?
Let's do a motion
Okay.
and see if we get a second, and then we have comments.
I'll move approval of K.D. Anderson Associates to provide traffic engineering consultant services related to the assessment of the closure of Lundberg Street between Washington Street and Stewart Street, and authorize the city administrator to finalize and execute a professional services agreement.
Yeah, I'll second George's, and then I got some comments.
Okay, and then additional comments.
The question, well, I guess a question for Tim. Ms. Linehan brought up the having the departments, the public safety departments doing a study. I was wondering why that wasn't done ahead of time. If there is, I would think if the fire or police didn't think this was a good idea, then we wouldn't be spending the money on.
The initial comments from fire department are, they don't use that street. It's too narrow, the turning movements are too difficult for fire equipment. And talking about the closure, temporary closure because of Santa's house, the police department commented that it wasn't, as long as they were aware that it was closed, they can accommodate that closure. So there hasn't been any strong objection or opposition from any of the departments to the possible closure. But having said that, once we do the study, we look at the impacts at the other intersections or the other street segments, they may have some concerns. So that's, I think the study needs to precede bringing you a whole package so you can have complete information all at one time.
Okay. That's all I had.
Comments?
Yeah, I guess my comment, again, I understand exactly where you're coming from, Elena. I get it. I have gotten 0 calls about this issue, and I mean, I'm more than willing to take all the calls all day long. I have over many issues. Saw a couple Facebook posts where somebody was angry that Santa's house was there, but again, I got 0 calls, and I don't believe that those were people who lived in the city as it was. Maybe they were, I'm not for sure, but you know, again, I really mean it when I say I'm more than willing to talk and, you know, come up to a conclusion, because the way I see it is our constituents tell us what to do, and I'm more than willing to discuss it, but I've received 0 calls about this. 0. So that's all I've got.
This seems like an awful lot of money to find out how many cars are going by. But it's probably more my Scotch thriftiness than a marker of what today's values are. Nevertheless, I think I will be regretfully supporting it because we need information for something that at least is widely supported by a fair portion of the community. And without adequate information, we can't make informed decisions.
Anything else from the council?
That's where I'm at, Mark. I agree.
Any other public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Passes unanimously. Item number 2 is consideration to approve resolution number 02-06-2017-A, authorizing the use of $4,031 in general fund monies as the local match for planning and technical assistance activities under the city's 2016 Community Development Block Grant. And Community Development Director, Ms. Kellogg, will give us a staff report.
Thank you. So actually what you're doing tonight is increasing the amount of our match from what you previously approved before we submitted the grant application by $281. And let me explain. In July, we submitted a community development block grant for 3 projects. One is the Home Buyers Assistance Program. One was for the low-income housing components project, which is part of our update of our housing element, which is a planning grant. And the third one was for TUD to do some sewer and water project in the city. As you know, the city received funding for 2. HCD was totally oversubscribed, and so they kind of picked and chose some of the projects. And we got funded on the Home Buyers Assistance Program as well as our planning grant. And under the planning grants, we are required to submit a 5% match. In the application that we prepared, it said the match was to be 5% of the activity. The activity amount was $76,000. Or $75,000, I'm sorry. So that included a match of $3,750, which we put in our resolution. Contracts have already signed. Tim already sent it back, and I got a call saying, no, we have to increase the match. They admitted that the NOFA was incorrect in the way that it's worded and unclear, but it actually has to include the amount of general admin that's included with, that they also provide for that part of the grant. So that increased the amount to the higher amount of $80,625, and thus I had to redo the resolution and raise the amount that the city's matched by $281. So this is really only an increase in $281 from what we had in our original resolution. But in order for us to get our agreement sent back out to us so we could get started on the home buyers program, we need to get this back up there. So again, staff is recommending that you approve Resolution 0206-2017A, and it does approve the use of local general funds in the amount of $4,031 for the planning and technical assistance activity housing element low-income housing components project to be funded under Community Development Block Grant 16 CDBG 11145. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions by the council?
Nope.
Public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a motion.
Madam Chair, I'll move on to approve resolution number 0206-2017-A, authorizing the use of $4,031 in general fund monies.
I'll second it.
Any additional discussion? Any public comment? Then I'll bring it back to the council for a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 3, discussion and possible direction regarding pending council retreat topics.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, I included a brief memo in your packet reminding you that we're having our council retreat on the 14th. That's a Tuesday next week, beginning at 9 a.m. at the EOC room at the fire station. We'd already talked about some of the items at our last meeting that would be on the agenda. There's been a couple of requests from council members that have been added, so just to briefly review those, We'll provide a preview of our mid-year budget, see if there's any comments from council on expenditure priorities that you may have. And there was a request to review the cash balance statements that we provide so everybody understands the various funds that are reflected on there, as well as our reserve accounts. There was a council request to talk about annexations, so in a general way we will talk about the annexation process and identify by providing you a copy of the sphere of influence areas that the city could consider for annexation. If there's any direction that comes out of that discussion, then that may be a work plan task that we want to take a look at. We do have some properties that the city needs to sell, the 2 houses that we've talked about before. So I thought it would be helpful to go through a city facilities review and property review and identify other possibilities of properties that we might want to make available for sale. The afternoon sessions have been set aside to talk about a strategic plan. We will have for you the draft mission statement that Harry Oles prepared, and we'll provide a format of consolidation of the work plan and an organization based on the mission statement so that you can have a document to take a look at in terms of assisting you with prioritizing some of those activities. It's likely that we may not get through all of that through the afternoon session, and you may want to have another workshop or study session just to spend more time on that subject. And then lastly, the Brown Act, there will be a Brown Act training. Nubia will be there in the afternoon to provide that training. It'll be the last item on your agenda. That is done in part as a part of an annual review. Some of you have gone to the county session. It's another service that Church Worldwide is providing for us. And it's also in response to a reply that we provided to the grand jury that we'd be providing that additional Brown Act training to the council. So with those topics, we'll have a pretty full day beginning at 9 and hopefully ending by 4 in the afternoon. We'll break for lunch. We will have refreshments there in the morning before the meeting begins, so come down about 8:30 and have a cup of coffee or get your sugar fixed before we start. All the staff will be available for questions and participation in the process. So there was a request tonight to talk about your meeting time. I don't know if you want to add that or not, but that's certainly something we could add for a few minutes in the discussion if you'd like to.
I don't think it would harm us doing that.
Yeah. Questions or comment for staff?
Yeah, I just said I don't think it would harm anything to do that, just a discussion, just to open the subject.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, because I've heard that before. So
First time it's come up, and it seems like it's something that we ought to at least dedicate a few minutes to.
We'll work that into the schedule then.
Okay. Anything else from the council's perspective?
The strategic plan, are we going to actually develop a strategic plan? And if so,
we're going to have
looking at years of the plan? 1 year, 2 year, 3 years?
We'll either do it by year or we'll do it by priority, categories of priority. I don't know, I haven't thought it out. We've got some examples for some other cities that we're going to build off of.
So, priorities that we have already prioritized yet? Or are we going to be doing that?
No, I think since there's a new council, we're going to be doing that. That'll be part of the exercise.
Anything else from the council members?
Yes.
Go ahead.
For years, I've had a yearning to see the backside of Walmart and Safeway and all those strip mall type appearances camouflaged somewhat. I'm told that that was part of their original design proposal, that they were going to have trees blocking that. And now on the other side of the highway in the same spot, we're essentially having a prison, or it looks like one, barbed wire and lights. So does that fall under the annexation or opportunities area where we could talk about trying to make the gateway to the Sierras look a little less unattractive.
Well, so we,
I mean, this is I'm just looking
Can of worms, can opener.
Opportunity, because this has been a thorn in my side for a decade.
okay. We're not in a position to dictate to the county how they develop their facilities, so I don't know that I can offer you any solution to how you think their juvenile detention facility looks. We can review the approvals for the shopping center and see, there were some landscaping requirements, I don't know the particulars, but we can take a look at what that is, and if there was anything in the specific plan that they were supposed to do some other embellishments on the backs of those buildings. We'll just do that as a separate report back to council. We don't need to do it as a part of the retreat, because I don't
Okay, yeah, I just didn't know if this was an opportunity, or, I'm not thinking that we're going to be dictating to anyone, much less the county, but nudging or perhaps encouraging would still be welcome. And
well, if you find that it wasn't included, or there's a desire to do something different, then there are ways to develop design standards for those kinds of things. So it may lead to a discussion about that. But
there we go.
Let's find out what the requirements were, what the standards are, what the plan provided for, what the approvals were.
Thank you. Right,
I recall there were plans for landscaping along their park.
Yeah, seems to me there were too.
Caltrans, part of their
Right.
ability to do which has fallen by the wayside with the funding. And the rest of it was by the businesses along there. And as I recall, there was water systems put in originally that have since been destroyed. And so the landscaping there didn't go any further as far as obviously it didn't go any further.
well, it did. The reason, I mean, that it's been sort of near to my heart is a lot of people have proposed replacing industrial and woods jobs with tourism, and yet our gateway to the tourist area is the backside of Strip Mall. And should we be able to, I understand that with the Law and Justice Center, that's outside the city purview at this moment, but anything that we can do to make Sonora more attractive for the first impression, I think would be a worthwhile endeavor. Thank you. I'll be quiet.
So, Tim, if you're going to review the Walmart conditions, or that shopping center conditions regarding landscaping, maybe it would be in conjunction with that we ask David Gonzalez, the new Community Development Director at the county, to come in and meet the council, and to enlighten the council on plans for any kind of landscaping at the juvenile detention center.
I would be happy to make that call.
Thank you. Because I know we've been asked to come and talk about projects in the city to the supervisors. So, and I think David would be very open to talk.
Yeah.
And it would be a good idea that he meet the council too.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. Anything else from the council? Then I'll open up to the public. And it looks like we have someone standing at the podium.
Is it okay to talk now?
Absolutely. It's
All right.
open to the public at this moment.
I appreciate that. So I worked a few weeks here and there in terms of trying to suggest the strategic 3-year plan for the city. The number of issues I'll mention, it would be good if we had a larger number of people attending these meetings and contributing to the city. And so I'm trying to suggest that we have a larger number of people attend, and perhaps it can be a community staff as well as the good staff that Tim runs, because we need more people to get more throughput. So I want to be able to have the strategic plan organized such that we invite more citizen participation, okay? Because we're going to have a lot of stuff happening in the country and the state. You already heard the governor speak out against Trump on us losing money, and we don't want to lose any more money for the city and so forth. So I'd like some little bit of forward thinking now. Your retreat is not the place to bring up everything at all. So I think, Jim, as you said, we need a little more time. But I would like to have the issues listed. Now, Tim, can I help you list and type them and sort them? Would that help you at all?
I'll share with you what we're working on, and if you have some suggestions before the retreat, we'll try and address them.
Okay, because it would be good. Some issues will be for the city staff, and I'm trying to, after listening to, if you have a time to have a meeting, I'd like to bring more people in eventually, but that's going to take a little bit of time. Okay, I have 3 now, but 2 can't be there on that day. But the working with the city and the community too is what I'm trying to accomplish without hurting anyone's feelings. I simply want more work done, more stuff through the city, more opportunity of explaining, more taking a look at the future for Sonora. Now, one of the things I have mentioned, and you can do it or not, is each of the council members should go ahead and possibly in writing before the meeting write down the answers to 3 questions. Okay, the first is what is Sonora? What am I going to do, you know, with the city, and how do I get there? So some idea of what your ideas of the future for Sonora should be are good. I'm sure you, I'm going to segue for a second, I'm sure you understand the issues over the high school, in which what they did was just concentrate on the present and not the future, and they got in a little trouble, shall we say. So I'd like to encourage, it isn't going to happen at once, but I'd like to encourage us to have the present working, which I think Tim does a great job on, and also the future. So let's see what we can do for the conference. Tim, I'll contact you, and we'll look over the issues, and if we can sort some of them, it'd be great. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Yes. Okay.
Mr. Olds?
Yes.
Yes. It seems that we get the largest crowds when people are unhappy or angry about something.
Right.
How do you suggest that we get more people just on a regular basis? Because
I actually have
every one of us would welcome more public input.
Well, that's good.
We don't want to just poke the hornet's nest.
Do you have a big metal shield in front of you? Okay. There's 2 or 3 things since you asked, I'll answer. In the last 4 or 5 years, people at conferences, because there's so much information, the speakers speak in the morning, and then they say, well, I want to talk, okay? And so the afternoon just breaks up and talks. The second thing is people aren't listening as well anymore. For me to go ahead and put in ideas like I'm trying to bring in the Get Focused, Stay Focused program in here, and get more jobs with growing gardens here for the teenagers, stuff like that. Well, those aren't in the middle of a city business, but it takes 3 or 4 times for me to get ideas into people's heads, Matt, as it used to. Okay? And that's just so much information. Then we have all the changes coming down from Washington and the state and everything else. Now, the way that I have succeeded, and I'll give you an example of a project, and at a conference I said, instead of doing crowdfunding, let's do crowd writing. Okay? Okay, so out of 300 people, 50 people signed up to help me. Okay? Now, what I had to do to get them to be on the project, I had to call every single one, listen to them for 45 minutes, and when they said I wanted to do this, I'd say, that's great. And so they did that, and I cobbled the whole group together, ended up with 17 or 18 people writing a 180-page manual in 5 months. So It can be done, but unfortunately, it's one-on-one. It really is one-on-one. The way I'll get people to work with you is I have to go out and talk to them month after month, one-on-one, and gradually I get 3 or 4 by the summer and maybe 7 or 8. If we get 7 or 8 more people working with you, I think that's pretty good. Does that kind of answer your question? You have to go one-on-one, Mark, otherwise, I mean, to go ahead and say, gee, we went ahead and invite everyone to come, but no one came, it means we didn't invite them very well.
True.
Okay. So the only way you're going to get people...
One project took you a little over 2,100 hours.
What's that?
I said that one project, no, 20. That was a lot of time to recruit the 50 people. You said it took 45 minutes.
Sure. It took me 3 weeks. Yeah, you're right. And if people listen more, or you can get volunteers, it will work kind of as we used to. But I haven't found that to be true as I start going through projects. That's the problem. Okay? So I care, and I'll be glad to do the work. I'll be glad to help Tim, whatever you want.
The other way to get a crowd would be to have some sort of outrageous headline saying something like, the Sonora City Council is considering making Sonora another San Francisco.
That's right. Alex, that's up to you.
And it'll be discussed at such and such a meeting. You'll get a crowd.
I know you would.
Consolidation
you get the right kind
did
of crowd, so. Okay, any more questions? Connie, thank you. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much. But the afternoon session is when we'll be talking about the mission and vision statement and strategic plan, work plan. And so approximately what time do you think that afternoon session will start, Tim?
Well, we'll take a lunch break. We'll start after that, so around 1 o'clock.
1:30?
Yeah.
Okay. 1:30 is when that discussion will take place at the fire station. And this is a public meeting, so anyone who would like to come and participate and listen are more than welcome.
Let me just, Connie, with tongue in cheek, I'm going to say, how many people are each of you inviting to come? Are you inviting anybody? If you're not inviting anybody...
I just invited the whole community.
One by one, Connie, please.
Okay, thank you, Harry. Okay, this does not require any action. You've gotten all the information that you need to move forward in completing an agenda for the council. Okay. Item number 4, discussion and possible direction regarding marijuana dispensaries and cultivation workshop. And this will be staff report by Mr. Miller.
Yeah, I included in your packet again just some scheduling ideas. You do want to have a second workshop. The purpose of that workshop would be to discuss options and the pros and cons of those options, and also to get the benefit of additional public comment. We wanted to do it more or less within a month of your last workshop. So through this month, we already have council meetings on the 6th and the 20th, and the retreat on the 14th, and then I'm not available the week of the 27th, so that pushes us into the month of March. And then it's a question of if you wanted to do it on a Monday, like your regular meeting. Again, in March we have meetings on the 6th and the 20th. The Planning Commission meets on the 13th, so it would be the 27th of March if you had it on a Monday. If you were to have it on a different day during the month, such as a Wednesday, mid-month we could do it on the 15th or something. So really need some direction from the council, maybe even a couple of different days. We need to confirm with the city attorney's office if their staff's available, and then the staff needs to be able to develop and respond to the options that we're going to be developing. So we just want to start tying down a date so we can have that second workshop, make sure we get plenty of notice out to the public.
So the 2 dates you gave us were March the 15th or March the 27th. Do either one of those, we'll start with those dates.
Yeah, sure.
Any of the council members have a problem with either one of those dates?
27th works best for me.
Exactly, same for me.
I don't think it's a big conflict, but the earlier the better. At some point, we're going to start looking again. Well, I prefer the 15th, but the 27th would probably be just fine, especially if it keeps snowing.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with.
You're good with either?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not available on the 27th. I'll be out of town from the 21st to the 29th. So March the 15th would be a better day for me.
Well, it is a conflict for me. It is a conflict. The 15th is a conflict for me.
What about the 22nd of March?
That's the fourth Wednesday. That's
The 20th, I'm leaving on the 21st.
She's leaving on the 22nd.
And won't be back to the 29th.
Eighth.
That's pretty tight to get done what we need to by then.
Or 13th and the 14th bad.
13th is the planning commission, they'll be here at,
I think 14th would be okay.
The 14th would, there is a Vision Sonora Finance and Transportation meeting at 3 o'clock, but it could be after that.
yeah, I was anticipating it'd be your regular meeting time.
No,
Regular meeting time.
5 o'clock meeting.
So the 14th, 15th, or 16th is good for me.
15th not for you, Jim?
Not really.
That's fine.
I have a conflict. I think it's a conflict unless the meeting, it's filming a meeting. And it doesn't always happen, but sometimes it gets canceled, sometimes it does. So it's hard for me to know now.
Connie, what days were you gone again?
I leave on the 21st and come back on the 29th.
16th works for me.
Well, let's,
Yeah, that would work for me too.
we'll look at the 14th and the 16th,
Okay?
I'm good for both of them.
or,
14th and the 16th is good for everybody?
I got one on the 14th.
so.
Okay, so the 16th is
16th?
best for you. So
Thursday.
16th looks like it might be best for all 5 of us.
And then if not, and given that you're going to be gone, how about the 30th as an alternate?
Yeah.
Which is
That would
also,
work.
it's also, let me get that.
That would work.
Also a Thursday. So the 16th or 30th, look at those dates, talk to Doug and his staff, and, okay. That gives us something.
Check the weather report.
That far out, it's anybody gets.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right, and
Thank
then
you.
we'll make sure that we publicize that special meeting once we have a date set.
Yeah, I think we'll,
Do we have
run
public,
some type of display out
do we have public
to the
comment?
council for that date.
I don't think we did. Connie, did we have public comment on that? I don't remember us.
On the marijuana piece?
Yeah,
No, I haven't yet, but I will.
okay.
Okay, any public comment? Okay, there's no,
Oh, here comes Don.
oh,
On the marijuana,
yes, please.
Well, when we're
This
setting
is-
a date for it.
All we're doing is setting a
Meeting
date.
date.
All we're doing is setting a.
We're not talking about the merits, we're talking about what day we're going to set the,
when that is.
yeah,
Right, we're just setting a date.
So I would say that the 16th would work for me.
Okay,
okay.
great.
All right.
16th, one person in the public, ready for the 16th. Oh, 2 people, okay, great. 16th, thank you for that. Okay. Item J is monthly reports, which we have none. Item K is the Vision Sonora report. For those of you who don't know, I am the chair of the Vision Sonora Committee, so therefore I get to write the report. The committee met on January the 26th. All members were in attendance except for Supervisor John Gray. The meeting, by the way, we do have copies of my report up here if anybody would like to have one. The The meeting consisted of approval of October 27, 2016 meeting minutes, action items, and subcommittee reports. Discussion took place regarding meeting date and time for the regular Vision Sonora Committee meeting. Suggestions were to hold the meeting after the merchants meeting on the fourth Wednesday of the month, have a 5 p.m. evening meeting, or move the meeting to the second Thursday of the month at 9 a.m. Final decision by the committee was to move the meeting to the second Thursday at 9 a.m. The next meeting of the Vision Sonora Committee will be Thursday, March the 9th, 9 a.m. at City Hall. The meeting is open to the public. It was also noted that if there was a subject matter that needed additional public involvement, the committee could hold a special meeting in the evening. It was decided that the Vision Sonora Tourism, Marketing, and Public Outreach Subcommittee incorporate the City of Sonora branding project within the committee. Additionally, it was decided that Councilmember Segarini take over as chair of the committee. The next meeting will take place on Monday, February 13th at 2 p.m. at City Hall, and again, the meeting is open to the public. It was decided that the Vision Sonora Finance Subcommittee and Transportation and Mobility Subcommittee combined into one committee. Additionally, it was decided that Supervisor Brennan take over as chair of the committee. The next meeting will take place on Tuesday, March the 14th at 3 p.m. at City Hall. The meeting is open to the public. Connie Williams, chair of the Vision Sonora Design Subcommittee, reported the committee met on January the 10th. The committee will focus their efforts this year on a Caulfield Park facelift project, the Lineberg Paseo future design, the Service Club replacement sign, the Washington Street Stockton Road Transit Project, and historic downtown Sonora updated plantings in parks and parking lots. Also, the committee selected 4 buildings within the Vision Sonora footprint for the Vision Sonora Committee to approve to honor in April with the Vision Sonora Award of Appreciation. The next meetings of the committee is January 31st and February the 15th at 1:30 p.m. at City Hall. The meetings are open to the public. There were no reports from the Tourism, Marketing, and Public Outreach Subcommittees or the Transportation and Mobility Subcommittee due to the fact they had not met due to the holidays. Councilmember Segarini reported the Vision Sonora Finance Committee met on January the 25th. The meeting consisted of a discussion regarding future funding for projects within the Vision Sonora Community Plan. Staff will be preparing for the next meeting opportunities that may be available so the committee can determine the best options to recommend for possible future funding. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, March the 14th at 3 p.m. at City Hall. The meeting is open to the public. It was noted by city staff the City of Sonora could be successful for funding through a Caltrans grant for the replacement of the Southgate Bridge at the entrance of the fairgrounds. If the city is successful, there may be dollars available for the entrance at the fairgrounds that is part of the new design in the Vision Sonora Community Plan. The meeting was adjourned at 9:56 a.m. Any comments or questions? Any public comment? Okay. This evening, we have no communications. Any public comment? Item M is council member and department head reports. So I'm going to start with our department heads, and it looks like Lieutenant Vanderweel left before I could call on him. Oh, he's back in the
He's hiding.
Okay. Lieutenant Vanderweel, anything from the police department?
No, nothing big.
Okay. And Chief Harden, is there anything else you would like to report?
No, Mayor, other than the fact that I intend to meet with business owners and community members, and if they're watching tonight on TV, I encourage them to come and see me and give me a call. I'm happy to talk about their police department.
Wow, I guess that means you're going to be walking the beat,
Busy.
huh?
Walking the beat. Absolutely.
Walking the beat. Okay. Okay, Fire Chief New, anything from the fire department?
Nothing to report tonight.
Okay. Our Administrative Services Director, Jennifer Calloway, any report?
No reports tonight.
And our Community Development Director, Rochelle Kellogg, anything else to report tonight?
I do.
Okay, come.
Just wheel on up. Wheel on up.
A few more weeks and I won't need this anymore.
Yeah, well, Thank goodness they made that contraption so that you could get around.
You don't want to see me on crutches. It's scary. I want to let you guys know that on February 19th, we're having another 5K run walk for the Dragoon Gulch Trail. Foothill Leadership has put this on. This is their third year sponsoring it. Over the last 2 years, they've raised $8,500 towards the new trail expansion of that project, or for that trail expansion project. We have applied for a grant through Sonora Area Foundation. It was submitted. They'll be considering it this month. If we are successful in obtaining the grant, we applied for $50,000. With the money that we have from the previous 2 years of 5K runs, we'll be able to build approximately 3 miles of trail. And we'll start in April with the working with the Stanislaus National Forest. We already have an agreement that we have in place with them that we can activate for that part of the project. So if we're successful with the 2 5K runs I already had, anything that they raise this time we'll put towards that project, because we're going to need benches and some other things as well, and maybe get a little bit more mileage out of it. So hopefully everybody comes out. It's 5K run, walk, rain or shine. You hear it on the radio. It's posted to the city's website, and I've been out there the last couple of years. I don't run, but it is fun, and it's just really a good thing. So I hope everybody will come out and support it, and people will be able to see that where the money's going, hopefully in April.
So when is that again?
And it starts at 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock?
8 o'clock at Woods Creek Park.
On the 19th.
On the 19th.
Which is a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday morning.
Yep. And sometimes they'll start at the park, and sometimes they start up by the old hospital, but it'll be right in that area, so everybody will see everybody.
Okay.
So hopefully people will sign up and enjoy the fun.
So just so you know, it's on my calendar, and I plan on being there then.
Very good. I'll be there too, but this year I will just be helping them sell tickets or something.
And any other council members that can come out, it would be great, because it's really been, Foothills has really done an amazing job with this race and has given back to the city, so we should all be out there supporting.
That's great.
Supporting them in their efforts for what they're doing for the city and all the
And they're really excited because they're hoping that we are successful on our other grant, and they're going to see some of the money go to work. So that's what they're raising it for. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, City Clerk, anything this evening?
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Goldstein, our Assistant City Attorney, anything this evening?
Just briefly want to thank the council and our attendance at our sexual harassment prevention training earlier today to round out our required trainings. So I'm looking forward to our round-out training next week.
Okay. And Mr. Miller, anything for the...
Nothing more, thank you.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Garavanta.
Yeah, just a couple things. One is I attended the Fair Board meeting on the 25th of January, and also that our new local nonprofit commercial educational, or non-commercial educational radio station is not only live streaming, but actually on the air. KAAD through the Arts Alliance, KAAD-LP through the Arts Alliance is on at 103.5, and you can go to their website, which is kaad-lp.org. Broadcasting to the mother lode.
Broadcasting locally.
Mm-hmm.
With local news and weather, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't know. But anyway, everybody...
Tune in and find out.
Everybody dial in.
Yeah.
Okay.
103.5. It's FM. It's low power. It's definitely anywhere. It's from the dome. The antenna's on the dome, and definitely should be able to reach anybody inside the city limits. It's probably a radius of, I want to say
3.5 square miles.
Well, yeah, yeah, within the city, but probably a radius from the dome of about 5 to 10 miles. Okay. And then streaming, you might get it out there at your house, Don. Should be just about the edge there. So.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Segarini.
Yeah, on January 25th, I mentioned earlier, we had our Town Hall Merchant City of Sonora meeting. Our next meeting is February 22nd. Chief, I'd invite you to come to that meeting, and that's where we gather some merchants together and talk about issues in the city. And that begins at 8 a.m. 26 was mentioned, the Vision Sonora Committee meeting. Also attended the Fair Board meeting on that evening. This morning attended the Tuolumne County Chamber of Commerce Governmental Affairs Committee meeting. And I also was in attendance for the sexual harassment meeting. And that's about it.
Okay. Councilmember Hawkins.
I have nothing tonight.
Really? All right. And Councilmember Plummer.
I have nothing interesting tonight.
Oh, okay. Nothing interesting, so you're just not going to say anything. Okay. The only thing that I have is a question for our city administrator. You had given us information, the public notice about the St. James Episcopal Church and the to do with the California Regional Water Quality Control Board. And my question is about submitting comments. Is this something that the council should take into consideration about submitting any kind of a comment to the water board?
Based on the notice that's been circulated and the cleanup that's taken place, it meets the standards for closure. You would only submit comments if you had some knowledge or concerns about closing out that site.
All right. Just wanted to make sure that there wasn't something else that we as a council needed to do.
No, they're just, those kind of communications I like to forward to you just so you're aware in case you get a call from a constituent.
Okay. Cool. All right. Then the last thing on the agenda is to adjourn. And I just want to make note that the council will meet next on February the 21st, which is a Tuesday, because Monday is the President's Day holiday. So 5 p.m. here at City Hall. And
Okay, I have a conflict, because I didn't realize that. Okay.
And, well, it's a good thing I brought it up tonight then.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 6:26.
I have to go to Don Pedro to film the board supervisors meeting. That's Dollar General's appeal. Dollar General, yeah. Yeah, down at Don Pedro. They did this, the planning commission meeting at the high school, so I imagine it'll be the same place. Oh, jeez.